As we get going here, I want to cover a couple industry terms that will be in the presentation. I want to make sure everyone's on the same page because these terms will actually be in the presentation. So upper left-hand corner, we're going to start with programmatic buying. You'll hear me say this a couple different times. So what is this? Well, it's an automated method of buying digital advertising. So just remember, automated method, that's going to help you out a lot. Below that is real-time bidding, and this is a portion of programmatic. Now, this is when we have multiple parties submitting bids in real time for a piece of inventory. Now, when I mean inventory, we're essentially talking about a web page or search in Google. We have audience modeling down there in the upper right-hand corner, your first, your second, your third-party data. Everyone should know those. And then we have viewability and attribution. Viewability is going to be your ability for a user to see an ad on a web page. And then attribution is essentially a method of measuring when you're assigning credit to each of the different media channels. Now, I'll give you a quick example of that. Let's say we have an end action for attribution, and we've assigned credit to maybe SEM at 30%, social at 20%, and then display at 50%. So you essentially take your different channels and you assign your percentage to them. Okay, now that we've covered some of those different terms, let's dive into the content. I'm going to summarize a few different digital marketing items for us, and then I'll turn to our subject matter experts to deep dive. Now, we're going to start off by defining what is paid media. And for today's presentation, paid media is essentially outbound marketing strategies that you pay for. And we're going to focus on the digital side of things for paid media. So paid search ads, display ads, and the social media ads. Now, we all know the traditional side of things too, radio, television, out of home is still a paid media tactic, but not something that we'll actually cover today. Now, getting started, what do we need to focus on? And there's two really critical items for us as we get going here. One is starting with your business goals and then translating those to a media goal. Now, it sounds easy to do, right? Let me give an example to it. So let's just say your business goal is acquiring a new customer. Now, translating that to a media goal would be, we want an action online. So we would want someone to either complete a sale online, and then the measurable to that would be a cost per metric. So your business goal is a new account. The digital goal is your sale online, and the measurable to that is the cost per, how much you've invested to actually get that sale online. Now, number two, for getting started, really critical, important for us here is defining your audience. So who you want to connect with, why do you want to connect with them, and then what are the insights related to that specific target audience, because we want to drive our relevancy within our message and our creative so we could communicate relevantly with this audience. So now let's take a look at a best-in-class example for digital landscape. At the very top here, you'll see our owned, earned, and paid channels. And within each one of those, we have our specific tactic channels. So owned, we have your website, your email, your direct mail. Earned would be our SEO, social, and content marketing. And on the far right, the paid, which we'll go through today, will be your search, your social, programmatic, and affiliate. Then what we do in the green box down there is we'll overlay the data and measurables across all those different tactics. So your personalization across each one of those, the data and measurement across those, and the governance and safety across each one of those different tactics that you're deploying. And then finally, on the very bottom down there in yellow, the operating model. And this is how Synchrony approaches it too, that we have our people. Who are the people and what are they doing? What's the process that they're going through every single day? And then what are the tools that they're using to execute each one of these different tactics? So we know that every single person on this phone call can't build this enterprise-wide, fantastic digital best-in-class model. But why I show it for you today is because you could pull out specialties within this that could add to your business or add to your marketing capabilities that you have today. So next, let's talk about the executional model. So the executional model is really defined and really guided by the funnel. So you see our funnel there in the left-hand side of things. We have our top, our middle, and our bottom funnel, and a couple different tactics into each one of those. Now, the most important thing here is starting at the bottom, because we want to optimize our lower funnel for efficiencies. And then as we move up funnel, we'll add the volume, we'll add the scale, but we'll still keep those efficiencies for us. So number one, as we get going, and I'll talk about this a lot too as we summarize the presentation, but number one, you want to optimize the lower funnel tactics, and that is launching paid search. That's launching retargeting from actions within your website. And then as we move up funnel and we get to number two, you want to increase your reach there. So how do you increase your reach? Well, you add social media to this. You add display media to your tactics. And then finally, driving awareness. Awareness can be driven from video ads on YouTube or amplifying content on your Facebook page. Now, a lot of people will come to me and they'll say, Robert, I want to drive awareness right away. I have $200,000, we want to drive awareness because we need awareness. And then they'll run that campaign and they'll come out and say, well, we actually had some conversions and those conversions were really, really expensive. And I'll say, well, why? It's because you didn't optimize your lower funnel first. You jumped all the way to the upper funnel. You started to execute items without really optimizing the lower funnel to get your efficiencies. So just remember that. Start with the lower funnel, optimize your efficiencies, and then start to move up funnel. Now I'm going to touch on the three different paid channels for us just really quick, and then I'll turn to our subject matter experts to deep dive into each one of these. So on the very top is paid search, SEM. It's typically run by Google and Bing. It's user initiated, as we know this, and it works really well in acquisition-based campaigns. So keywords really fuel the marketing strategy here. So the keywords will tell you what terms you're going to buy and why. And then your bidding strategy will determine essentially when and how your keywords are shown to who. Next, and in the middle down here, we have paid social. And paid social typically is run on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and so forth. Now, paid social is an engagement platform for us. When I mean engagement platform, I'm talking about shares, likes, comments. That's the output that we would want from paid social. And you could also execute your paid social via first, second, or third party data. So you could speak relevantly to your customers one-on-one within paid social, or if you want to, you could go out and reach a new prospect audience. Now, I will call out really quickly that there is an organic side to this. We're not touching on organic today, but as you develop your paid strategies, just make sure they are integrated with your organic side of things too. And then finally, down there in the very bottom, display media. Display media is an awareness channel performing best in the upper and mid funnels for us. Now, we do see success within display media in the lower side of things, and I've already called this out for us today, and that is from retargeting from website. So there's actions that you're asking for people to do on your website. If they're not taking those actions, you could then retarget them to bring them back, have them complete that action. And then finally, for display media, we could buy this two different ways. We talked about buying it programmatically, automatic, or a direct buy in a particular website. So I kind of wrapped up in a very quick item summary pieces of these three different channels. Now, as we move forward, I'm going to turn it over to Liz, and she's in a deep dive into paid search.
Alrighty, thanks, Robert. Hey, everybody, good afternoon. My name is Liz Armstrong. I am a paid search manager here at Synchrony. I've been working within the paid search space for over 7 years now, so I'm well versed in all things paid search, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys today about the core elements you will need to implement your own paid search campaign. But what I wanted to first touch on super briefly was what exactly is paid search and why it is an integral part of your digital marketing strategy. Now, paid search in itself is the process of driving traffic to your website through relevant ads on what we call the search engine results page, also known as the SERP. I have an example of that here on the right-hand side. We can see the query that somebody typed in was Synchrony credit card, and the first 3 listings we have are all ads, as denoted by that little ad symbol on the left-hand side of the listing. Typically, a paid search ad will show in either like the first, second, third, or fourth spot, followed by all the organic SEO listings, and then search ads could then show again underneath those ads on the first page as well. Now, why paid search is so important in a digital marketing strategy is it is an incredibly effective way to target consumers who are actively seeking information on your product, your service, or even your own brand. And given the fact that there are an unbelievable amount of searches every day, a paid search ad is the best way to get your ad up above those organic listings and in front of those consumers who, again, are actively searching for your product or category. Now, for today's section, I will be going over, again, those core elements and those core steps into how, into what it takes to set up your own campaign. While I've provided I provided 6 steps here, we're really going to be focusing on steps 2 and 3, which is research and development. We'll also touch base on what a smart campaign is and how it is relevant to all of you all. But I first wanted to mention that the very first step anybody will take when creating a paid search account from scratch is heading to either of these homepages on Google Ads or Bing Ads. Whether you set up an account on one or both, completely up to you. But each of the engines provide a simple, very easy to follow step-by-step guide to creating your own account. Bing even has like a chat feature on the homepage saying, hey, if you're new here, chat with us, we can help you. I've used their services before. They are immensely helpful. So that is step 1. Before you do anything else, you go to their homepages. Awesome. So then moving into step 2, we go into the research portion. And the research portion starts with keywords, which is the core of any paid search campaign. If we want to jump ahead. Oh, maybe my screen is frozen. Awesome, thank you. Cool. All right, so what is a keyword? A keyword is a word or phrase used to match your ads with people who are actively keywords or words or phrases that match your ad with terms that people are actively searching for on the search engine results page. For example, I run the Synchrony bank account here at Synchrony, so my keywords include things like Synchrony Bank, Synchrony CDs, high yield savings account, so a mixture of our brand name plus the products that we offer. Now, when it comes to a keyword, it can be 1 or 2 words, so very, very short-tailed, or it could be longer-tailed, that's when we get more phrases, so 5, 6, 7 keywords. When it comes to starting your own keyword list, starting from scratch, the number 1 most important thing I recommend is think like your consumer. How are your consumers searching for your product, your service, and even your brand name? I know that sounds kind of simple. Oh, it's my brand name. But let's say, you recently merged with another company, or, you recently, changed your name. I've worked on clients that, merged with company B, and now they have a brand new name. Well, people may still search for your old company name, your new company name. So you want to make sure that you're thinking of how, again, those consumers are going to be searching for you. The best place that I always start when starting a keyword list from scratch is looking at the website. That's going to be your number 1 idea generation when starting from scratch. For example, let's say I run a furniture account, and I notice on my website, my furniture is segmented by the different rooms. So I have a living room, I have the kitchen and dining, and then I have bedroom. So I can start my keyword list by taking a look at what are the biggest products there, what are my biggest categories. So I could start with like living room set, extended dining room table, king size mattress set, things like that. Again, just to get a basis of what I want to be bidding towards. In addition to that, a tool that I highly recommend everybody uses is called Keyword Planner. Once you set up an account in both Google and Bing, the tool is available in both. You will have access to this tool. All it is you can plug in your website and a few keyword themes, maybe just a few keywords themselves, and both engines will then populate additional keywords based on the information you input, and it'll provide you, again, more keywords, both with average monthly searches, how competitive it is in the market, your average cost per click. So just a really good idea of the volume that you'll potentially earn. You have the ability to add in keywords directly from this tool right into your account. Again, both engines made it very easy and very simple for anybody who's starting an account here. Now, the other aspect of keywords is when you have your list, you do have to upload them as a certain match type. And that is what I have here on the left-hand side. And all a match type is it dictates how closely a user search needs to be to your keyword to trigger an ad. Now, 10 years ago, this was very simple, but because of how search has evolved in itself, the evolution of technology, and really how everybody uses the internet, the match types have evolved themselves. So just starting out, I highly recommend what we call the exact match match type. Kind of self-explanatory. It used to be when the user query exactly matched a keyword. So in this case, let's say I'm a landscaping company and somebody searches for, lawn mowing service, and that is the keyword I'm bidding on. I want my ad to show. So in the past, the query would have to exactly match my keyword. But now exact match means that all the user has to do is they have to search for something with the same meaning of my keyword. So in this example, we also have grass cutting service. Again, if I'm still bidding on lawn mowing service and somebody searches for grass cutting service, I want my ad to show. It's the same thing. They're just synonyms. So again, a little more broad than what it used to be in the past, but still relatively the tightest match you're going to get. Exact match will be the most cost efficient, just given how relevant it is and the smaller volume you'll get. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, we have what's called broad match. So this is when a user query is related to your keyword. So again, if I'm still bidding on lawn mowing service and somebody looks for lawn aeration prices, and I have this uploaded as a broad match keyword, then my ad could still potentially show because the user query is related to what I'm bidding on. It definitely sounds a little more complicated than it is, but I promise it is quite simple. Really, what keyword or what match type you'll use, it will depend on the scale of volume you're looking for and how much budget you have to spend each month. Again, starting out, I highly recommend just exact match and then moving over into broad match as you look to scale your volume. Some additional tips and tricks. There's no need to upload anything with like plurals or misspellings. The algorithm is very advanced and will match for keywords like that. And then you also have the ability to use negative keywords, which is just when you don't want your ad to show for a specific query, you can go ahead and add that in and the engines will not show your ad. I've also provided some additional help articles here. I know the presentation will be passed out afterwards. So if you do have any additional questions around keywords or just looking for any additional information, both these articles are a great resource for you. Awesome. So in addition to the keyword match type, I'll briefly go through this as, I want to make sure we get to the ad copy portion. There's 3 different kinds of keyword tactics you could upload into your account. We've talked a little bit about brand keywords, kind of self-explanatory. These are, your business name. So back to my Synchrony Bank example, I have Synchrony Bank, Synchrony Financial. This is, targeting those in the lowest funnel, definitely an acquisition tactic. You'll have probably a lower amount of volume compared to the other 2 tactics, but you will see most likely the strongest return on investment, and it is the most cost effective. We also use non-brand keywords. So this is more when you just target, your specific product or service. So in the bank case, we have CD terms, we have high yield savings, and whatnot. This is great. This is a great mid-funnel consideration tactic. Again, these are people who are actively searching for your product or service. They just don't know what company they want to go for. They're looking for the best deal. Definitely a great opportunity to not just get your name out there, but again, to capture some of that traffic and move them towards the acquisition phase. Non-brand will have the largest amount of volume, but it could become more expensive depending on how much competition is in the space. And very briefly, the third tactic is technically competitor or conquesting keywords. This is when you would target, a competitor. So as Synchrony Bank, if I wanted my ad to show up for Chase Bank, I would add Chase Bank as a keyword. This is never a tactic I would ever recommend, but I am constantly asked about it from various clients. And the reason I don't recommend it is because you'll be paying an arm, a leg, and another leg just to go ahead and get your ad to show on the page. And the only time this would be applicable is if you have fully fleshed out, your brand and non-brand tactics. So you would really be focusing on brand and non-brand just starting out. Awesome. So the second fundamental aspect of paid search is the ad copy. So what are you actually showing the consumers when they are searching in the engines? The ad itself is fairly simple. You have up to 3 headlines denoted in the bold blue text, up to 3 headlines at 30 characters each. That does include spacing and punctuation. You have up to 2 description lines at 90 characters each. We also have a display URL, which shows right above the headlines, and that just tells the consumer the website that they will be directed to once they click on the ad. And then we also have something called extensions, which is just like additional ad space where you can direct consumers to an additional portion of your page or highlight additional value props. When creating ad copy, there's definitely a few things to keep in mind. Number 1, include your keywords. I know we just went over how to create this keyword lists, but definitely include them in your ad copy. It's going to boost your relevancy. And when your keywords actually included in your ad copy, both engines will actually bold it in the SERP itself to give a visual cue to the consumer saying, hey, this is very relevant to what you were looking for. You want to make sure you are including value props, promotions, so any sale you have, you absolutely want to advertise that. Any sort of, what really makes your company unique, you want to include. So in this example, I have, online savings member FDIC. That's my value prop. It shows, like, hey, we are very legit. You definitely should learn more about us. But you also want to make sure that you include call to actions. So these include things like call, shop, find, start, apply. It's essentially how we can say click this ad without actually saying click here, because you can't actually say that. It has been shown in several studies that call to actions are very effective at getting people to click on your ad. So definitely want to include those. And then very briefly, the default ad type right now is called responsive search ads. But, and again, that's just a fancy name Google gave it. But all it really allows us to do now is we upload up to 15 different headlines and up to 4 different description lines. And the algorithms are going to automatically test different combinations to see what works best with each other. We're still going to be limited to showing up to 3 headlines and 2 description lines, but Google and Bing will now have more to play with in terms of, okay, this headline and the description line work well together when somebody's searching for X. It's a great tool, not a tool, but it's a great functionality that that the search engines have come up with over the past about 6 months or so, and will definitely be the next step of search. Awesome. So I know we've discussed keywords, we've now discussed the ad copy. So let's say you're saying to yourself, Liz, this is all great, but I'm very concerned about time management moving forward. Well, Google has created a tool called Smart Campaigns, and this is for exactly you guys, small business owners who may not have the time. So instead of sort of going through creating a keyword list, having to manage that ongoing, this is again a much simpler tool. When you go to create your campaigns, it is a certain campaign type you can select. All you'll do is tell Google your budget. You'll select your demographics and your location preferences, so where you want your ads to show in terms of like states. You will still have to create a few ads. Unfortunately, that is part of the job. But instead of providing a full keyword list, you'll just have keyword themes. You can even plug in your website, and Google can pull themes from there, and then you are good to go. So in terms of ongoing management, Google will automatically create the keyword lists. They will pause keywords, they will add keywords. It is very simple and very easy just in terms of ongoing management, but it still gives you the access to reporting that you would have in a traditional campaign. So you could still see impressions, clicks, and all of that. I've included a help article here because there's a lot more here to touch on, but it's a great way if you're concerned at all about management moving forward. Awesome. Cool. All right, I'm pretty sure I've gone way over time, so I apologize to my colleagues here. But again, focusing on steps 1, 2, and 3, post your keyword creation, your campaign creation, you're ready for launch, and then you just want to keep a very close eye on your accounts, constantly optimizing. That's definitely like a 201 and 301 discussion. But you will be good to go once you follow these steps. And that wraps it up for search.
Thanks, Liz. Hi, everyone. My name is Yvette Fernandez, and I'm one of the paid social managers here at Synchrony. I'll be going over paid social today. And so first and foremost, what is paid social? So paid social, in simple terms, refers to ads or sponsored messages running on social platforms. So you're paying to push this content out. A few examples of social networks that you can advertise on are the bigwigs: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. And there are a few ad examples here on the right for you to take a look. But I'm sure most of you are pretty familiar with the platforms and have seen some ads probably even today. So social is also used as an umbrella term like search. If you can go back one slide, Rob. So you can divide it into two separate functions. People usually use the term social media interchangeably, but really it's between organic and paid social. So organic, it's free content that you can publish with your own handle. You're not paying for anything, and it's typically to your own followers or friends, right? So still very important. But paid social allows you to add incremental audiences to that. So pushing your content out to more targeted audiences fit for your offering and your business, right? And you're paying for that. And this is great because using both of these in tandem, because you can reach your consumers where they are most engaged on a daily basis, right? So as Rob mentioned before, make sure usually organic teams are separate than paid social teams, but make sure that the right hand knows what the left hand is doing and that you are communicating out your messaging as one brand. Next slide, please. Thank you. Now, how to implement a paid social campaign. Again, 6 steps really encompass a holistic process of launching and building a campaign. First and foremost, how do you even start? What buttons do you click, right? You don't even know where to go. So I've included a few links here as takeaways for you in order to start that process. So if you want to build a campaign today, you truly can. These are all self-serve platforms, so you don't need a third party or an agency to do this for you. You can go in and create your own ad accounts today, as I said. And for the purposes of the presentation to timing, and we can talk about paid media for days because there's so many nuances to it. But today we're going to talk about researching and developing your campaign, right? So first identifying what platforms do you want to advertise on, and from there, what targeting tactics are there? Next slide. And why even advertise on social, you ask? Well, I'll tell you, your competitors are already there. 81% of small and medium businesses already use some kind of social platform. So even if you decide not to advertise, make sure that you do have an organic presence and that you are there engaging with your consumers on a daily basis. There are nearly 4 billion active social media users that are on social platforms on average of 95 minutes a day, right? So you're not only having scalable reach, so large volume of users, but they're engaging, right? So make sure you can get in front of them, and social is just a great prominent way to do that. The average person bounces between 7 different networks per month. So there are some big players such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, but really the possibilities are endless, and you can add any of these into your media mix to be successful. There are 7 million active advertisers on Facebook alone, right? So that's always a great place to start if you want to get your feet wet, is starting with Facebook and Instagram, a very usable interface. But that's not to say that these other platforms don't have their own value. And also, not only has social had a huge impact on our day-to-day lives and our users, but to use it for your own business, right? Like, how can this impact and drive business results for you? Is that you can have targeted reach, right? So connecting with people as they are scrolling through their feeds, being up front and center, and sharing your relevant content at scale. Also, low cost of entry. Because most of these are self-serve platforms, compared to traditional advertising. You don't need to use an agency or third party, and that means that smaller budgets can still run effective campaigns. And lastly, you can accomplish more of your goals. So social doesn't just have to be used for awareness and likes and shares. Yes, that is great to engage your audience, but it also drives conversion. So from top to funnel, bottom funnel, you can pick and choose the type of campaigns and their objectives in order to drive business results. Next slide, please. All right. So I know this one is quite a mouthful, but the purpose of this slide is really to hand it over to you as a resource to see the landscape and how many networks there are currently. And of course, there's a few stragglers that are missing, like Reddit, but for the most part, these are the ones that you can probably get started with, right? And there's different elements that you should take a look at when considering where to advertise on social, given, of course, your audience, who you're targeting, also keeping in mind the mindset that they will be in when they use these platforms. For example, I have a Pinterest and I have a LinkedIn, but when I go to Pinterest, I'm not looking for a Gartner white paper. I'm not in a business mindset or headspace, right? I'm looking for more of those more big life moments, planning like trips or whatnot. So you want to cater to your audience and also the headspace that they're in that platform, and that'll help you create a content strategy moving forward, right? So as I said, this is more of a resource. I'm not going to go through each box, but definitely take a look at this, and this will help you formulate a campaign strategy to fit your needs. Also, targeting capabilities. Social has become so sophisticated in the way that it can target its users. And yes, it can vary, a little bit between platform and platform, but for the most part, you can look at these 10 buckets and really drill down as far as you can within each of these, right? So demographics, you can target people by gender or age. Location, if you have a brick and mortar store and you only want to target people in that area, this is a great tactic, so you don't have any wasted impressions in other states or in other zip codes. Professional targeting is also great for B2B. You can target by job titles or seniority, for example. And if you're really familiar with the persona that you're going after, interest and behavior targeting are key. That'll really help you expand and be able to really test and learn from those targeting tactics there. So connections, you can target people that are connected to your competitor, for example, and do a little bit of competitor conquesting if you want. You can also upload your client list to the platforms, and the network will match it to its users, and you can target people that way. We use it a lot for cardholder utilization, right? So we know who our cardholders are, and we'll target them to make sure that we're inciting some action there and they're using their card a lot more. Also, lookalikes, or another term for that is actalikes. Those are used interchangeably. You can, for example, when you upload that list of high-value clients, you can create a lookalike. And this tactic has proven really successful for us in social in the past, and one that I would recommend as the more like step 2 or 3 of your campaign. And of course, retargeting, right? Bringing people down the funnel. Social does that really well as well. And you can continue, formulating and interacting with the audience that's already engaged with your brand. Lastly, third-party data. A lot of the platforms have partnerships with data providers such as LiveRamp, and you can utilize those lists and target across networks as well. So a lot of possibility, right? But for the most part, you can, there's a way to get to your audience and get in front of them, and social's wonderful for that. All right, so another resource slide for you. I think it's really important because sometimes it can get a little bit overwhelming. Not only do you not know where to start, but also, what are the steps that I need to do? Like, how do I physically create a campaign? Well, you can take this slide and it'll really walk you through those steps. So I put Facebook as an example here. As I said, I think if you're starting off doing paid social, Facebook's a great first step there. And if you want to create a Facebook Ads Manager account, you first need a Facebook business page. That's the first step, right? Because you cannot run any ads on personal profiles. That's step one. And then from there, you can just start building your campaign, choose your objective. And as Robert mentioned earlier, you want to make sure you're matching your media objective with your business objective, right? So if you want sales, you're not going to run an awareness objective campaign, right? So you want to make sure that you are aligned there. And then you choose your targeting, play around with it, go, choose. I like to play around on the platform, just see what's out there, right? And it's constantly changing, which is what's great about social, is that it's constantly evolving and expanding its capabilities. So you go in there and play within the platform. That's my recommendation. It's the best way to learn. And then set your budget and schedule. And then from there, just optimizing your delivery, right? Because this is an ongoing process. It's not set it and forget it. You should go in, test and learn. And there's so many variables that you can play around with within the platforms to make sure that you're getting the most bang for your buck and that you're truly optimizing your campaign continuously. Next slide. Right, so back to this, right? So now we know how to start, where to go to create an account with these platforms. And we've also learned a little bit more about why you should even be on these platforms, whether it be organic. I love paid, so I recommend you also do some paid within your social platforms as well. And all of the different possibilities within the targeting, right? Social is great. I didn't get to touch on some really big pieces such as tagging and pixel implementation, which are incredibly important in order for you to be able to measure your campaign and ensure that you're optimizing off of the correct events on your site. But maybe we'll do a 201, who knows, and we can walk you through that process as well. And again, optimizing your campaign, it's a cyclical process. Make sure you're in there, and then you can go into more step 2 and 3 of your campaign and evolving it with some remarketing and creating act-alike audiences and such. But I hope this was helpful. I wish you the best of luck in your paid media journey, and I'll pass it on to Alana.
Great, thank you. So moving into display. Here we'll go over display, how we can use banner ads, and how best to use them in a marketing campaign. So essentially, display ads can either be static or dynamic images or video that appear across web content, whether it's in an e-commerce site or a news site. By utilizing technology offered in an ad serving platform, we're able to layer on specific audience segments, such as targeting a user who's maybe in market for a specific product, and then serve them an ad for that specific type of store. An example of this could be maybe they're looking for a new couch, so then a furniture store would then market them and serve them an ad. This ad can have several different call to actions, such as learn more, apply, or purchase. You may have heard the word programmatic used throughout the call today. This refers to the way of buying display ads online. Currently, you're able to purchase display ads, audio spots, and video ads digitally, and this environment is continuing to evolve to include digital out of home, such as ads on top of cabs or digital billboards. Programmatic display ads help alleviate the need of setting up direct IOs or negotiations with individual partners. We're now able to run ads across thousands of sites throughout one platform. So in short, display's goal is to reach users within an automated buying model across the web. Next, we'll review the different types of data you're able to access. There are several audience types you're able to tap into, the first being pure audience targeting. This can be using the platform's demographic filters such as age or gender. Another option could be your own first-party data such as point of sales or email lists. Next, there's contextual targeting, which utilizes keywords and phrases for either a website or a search result. If you're looking to target a user who's in market for a couch, they might have Googled couches, couch for sale, discount couch. All search terms that you input would then pull together an audience segment that can be targeted. Once targeting that audience segment, you're able to reach those users across the web who who might be looking at other content that isn't necessarily specific to furniture. Lastly, there's targeting specific websites or apps, such as competitor sites for furniture. There's also retargeting, so possibly re-engaging with a user who may have browsed your site but didn't end up purchasing. And lastly, there's geo-targeting. Maybe you want to target a user within a 20-mile radius as your local flower shop. As you may notice, there are multiple outlets that you're able to tap into digitally. The data type you use would be chosen based on your campaign's goals and the audiences you're looking to reach. Next, we'll move into an overview of how the back-end process works. Although this chart is a bit involved, I'll just provide a quick overview of how all the parts work on the back end. First, a user visits a site such as weather.com. The website then picks up that they have ad space on their site that they need to fill. The website then communicates to the SSP, which is the supply side platform. This is where the website lets the server know they have ad space that they need to fill, and they'll pass the user's information along. The SSP then talks to the DSP, which is the demand side platform, and sees if the audience profile meets the DSP's campaign filters and goals. Essentially, the DSP is the platform we use as advertisers to purchase and run media out of. It's important our targeting is precise to ensure we're buying ad space that meets our target audience. If the audience profile that was sent via the SSP matches the targeting in the DSP, then a bid is sent and the ad is served to the user on weather.com. This entire process happens within milliseconds. If you think about it, once you type in weather.com, ads automatically pop up. So most of this process is happening pretty fast on the back end. Next, we'll review what Google Ads is and how to use it as an advertiser. Google Ads is a platform that allows smaller display campaigns to run, but still is able to leverage Google's first-party data, which is fairly valuable given all the platforms they own, as well as their ability to track users searching and browsing through their history. The display campaigns in Google Ads is called a smart display campaign. You're able to run a campaign that others looking to sell a product online or in stores, as well as promote an app. Some of the filters and layers you have access to include Google data, smart bidding, which is essentially adjusting the cost you're willing to spend based on which audiences or creatives might be performing better or are yielding the strongest number of conversions. And then lastly, you're able to access smart creative and performance audiences, both of which leverage intelligent tools within the platform that pulls together recommendations on which creative or audience might be performing stronger than another. Lastly, we'll review how to get started with Google Ads. So starting at the top, you'll want to place a pixel, which is a piece of code, on your website to track conversions and measurement. This also helps you retarget users who may have visited your site but didn't actually purchase the product. As I reviewed on the slide before, here are the three goals you can choose between. Are you promoting an app, selling a product, or trying to drive leads to a website? Depending on your goal, each bucket has its own link that takes you to the Google Ads support site, which provides additional information on each campaign type, best practices, benefits of each, and the requirements to get started. In short, display is a great channel to tap into, which helps capture demand for future or current customers beyond search or social, and it's an automated process, which helps with efficiencies throughout the entire campaign process.
Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up. Now we've talked a lot about the different channels, and I want to talk about some options now for you. So you have a little bit of budget. You heard our presentation, and now you're thinking to yourself, what should I be doing next based on the budget availability that I do have? So let's start on the left-hand side here really quick. If you have, say, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, we could do what we recommended, and that is to optimize your lower funnel tactics. So you're going to activate your page search for brand terms here. You're going to activate retargeting from your website. Your KPIs are essentially going to be your conversion because these are lower funnel tactics. And your budget, as I mentioned earlier, there could be anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 to $15,000 per month. Now next, let me go in the middle here, and I'm going to go in the middle right underneath the build-up. So let's talk about adding social to your plan. So adding social media to your plan and to the mix essentially allows you to extend that reach we talked about earlier while moving up funnel to gain your reach. And what you'd have here is you'd have two different budgets. So you'd have a search budget per month and a social budget per month. I give some estimates down there for it, but for each one of those, you'll be managing them separately, but obviously they'll be working together. And then finally, I'm going to call it one more idea for us, and that's the yellow box on the right-hand side, well, kind of middle right for us. We've talked a lot about acquisition today, but I want to kind of put us into maybe a existing customer type of a mode. So if you're communicating with your existing customers and you want them to take an action, we can integrate offline to online. It's not uncommon that for existing customers, they're receiving maybe email and direct mail. Well, let's complement that with your digital media. So you could add either social media to this, display media to this, and you're able to communicate one-to-one with this particular existing audience, to speak relevantly to them. KPIs could be really based on what you want to do. So it's traffic for awareness, conversion for the lower funnel. And now the budget, though I don't have a number down there, is going to be dependent on your audience size. If you have 10 million existing customers, it's going to be a little bit more to spend to reach them compared to maybe 100,000. So depending on your audience size, you could then develop your budget and your tactics, based on those items. I want to leave a few minutes for Q&A, so I'm not going to touch on the things on the right-hand side. That's a little bit more money for us, a little more higher touch, higher awareness. Hopefully these are good, relevant examples